Today is Monday, the 19th of April, 2021. My name is Angel Rodriguez. I'm interviewing Thairy Garcia for the Voices Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know that this recorded interview will be held in the Nettie Lee Benson Latin American Collection at the University of Texas at Austin and the Brown University Library's digital repository. If there is anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there's a topic that you want to talk about, please bring it up and we can discuss it. Participation in this study is completely voluntary and you are free to withdraw from the interview at any time. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need you to record your consent to participate in this interview. I will ask you a series of 5 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. Voices of a Pandemic wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation that you wish to contribute at the Benson Library at UT Austin and Brown University's digital repository. The Voices Oral History Project will retain copyright of the interview and any other materials that you choose to donate. So question 1, do you give the Voices of a Pandemic project consent to archive your interview and your materials at the Benson Library and Brown University Library's digital repository?
Yes, I consent.
Do you grant the Voices of a Pandemic project copyright over the interview and any material that you choose to provide?
Yeah, I consent.
Do you agree to allow Voices of a Pandemic to post this interview on the internet via the Voices Oral History Center's YouTube channel, where it may be viewed by the public?
Yeah, I consent.
We have many questions in a pre-interview form that we have already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure server at the University of Texas, Austin. Before we send your information from the pre-interview form to the Benson Library, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or family members so that would not be part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Benson Library. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview and your public file to researchers at the Benson Library?
Sure.
On occasion, the Voices Oral History Center receives requests from journalists who wish to contact individuals who have participated as narrators in oral interviews. The Voices Oral History Center only responds to reputable news outlets. Do you give consent for Voces to share your phone number or email with journalists that are interested in your story?
Yes, I consent.
Thank you for agreeing to the informed consent portion, and we will now start the interview. So before we start talking specifically about your experiences with the pandemic, I would like you to describe a bit about who you are. How would you describe yourself to someone who doesn't know you?
I think I'm a very creative person. I think I giggle a lot, so if I giggle during this, I'm sorry. um, yeah. I think I'm very serious about a lot of things. I think I talk a lot. Um, yeah. I think it's very easy to get to know me. Oh, and I do this a lot. I think that's like the most important things to know about me during this.
So a couple of more things. How old are you and what type of work do you do?
Oh, I'm 22 years old and I manage a candy store.
And where are you currently living?
Union City, New Jersey.
Okay, so moving forward with the portion about the pandemic, let's begin thinking about how has it affected not only your life, but your family's lives thus far. How and when did you first learn about COVID-19? Was it through friends, family, or the media? And do you remember what your immediate reaction was?
Okay, so funny story. I had not heard about COVID-19 at all until I went to school. And I remember this so perfectly. I went to school and we were sitting at our first meeting for our travel abroad class. And we were supposed to go to Paris, Amsterdam, and Belgium. And the guy in charge of my school's global like travel program came in and he's like, yeah, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, your trip hasn't been canceled because they're not a high risk places yet, but if that changes, we'll cancel your trip. And I literally had no idea what he was talking about. And I was so confused. So I asked one of the girls that was there, and I was like, what is he talking about? Why are we getting canceled? And yeah, that's kind of how I found out about it.
At what point did you realize the pandemic was serious? And did you ever think it would come as far as it did to this point?
I was one of those people that I thought like, it's the cold, you know. It's like the flu. We'll be over it. Like, it'll be quick, or maybe like a couple weeks. And then we were in Europe, and I remember we were in France at this point. Um, and then we're watching, like, the news is in French, and for some reason they had it in, like, the captions came up in English only for that segment, and they were like, that France was entering lockdown, starting, I think it was like the next day or 2 days from the day that we saw that report, so that they would be closing the borders, and yeah, you'd basically be stuck in France. That's when I realized it was serious, because I was like, I'm gonna be stuck in France. I didn't get stuck, but that's when I realized it was serious, when they shut the whole country down.
Um, and are there any news channels or radio stations or other means that you use to follow the news of the pandemic?
I usually get, okay, this is gonna sound really bad, but I usually get my stuff off of like Instagram, but it's not like crazy Instagram. I like, I mean, I guess News 12, but I don't really have like a television at home like that. So I get all my news from the news channels' social media posts, if that makes sense.
Would you say that it's helped you know essential information?
I think that if I didn't have social media during this time, just for the reason that like I mean, I don't watch my TV like that. If I'm on my TV, it's for Netflix and stuff. So I think it helped me just keep up to date. Just because I mean, if you go through my feed, it's kind of funny. It's like News 12 New Jersey, and then like, who's that person? Oh, NJ Gov, Murphy, Cuomo. That's how I got my news from. Yeah, it helped though.
Okay, and we're going to be transitioning to how COVID has impacted your daily and everyday life. So what customs or best practices have you implemented in your life to stay healthy?
I double mask. I clean like crazy. um, Microban has become my best friend, and Lysol. Um, I literally do not leave if I don't have hand sanitizer and at least like 3 extra masks with me. And I also don't really go out unless it's like to my job or to the grocery store. And like, I never did this before, but since the pandemic, I literally clean like everything. So like, if I'm done with my car, that sounds weird, but if I like get out of my car or whatever, I'll literally like clean everything after I park for the day. So yeah.
How else has going out in the world during COVID-19 changed from before COVID?
I'm scared of people now. I think the area I'm in, a lot of people, I mean, I guess it's everywhere, where people are like, some people believe COVID, some people refuse to believe COVID. So I literally, like, if I'm walking down the street and I see someone without a mask, I will literally cross the street or walk in the middle of the street because I don't want that near me. um if people in a grocery line get too close to me, I'll turn around and tell them to back up, which I'm like, I'm not confrontational like that, but I'm also not trying to get sick.
How, if at all, has COVID impacted your ability to gather with family and friends for important events?
I have not seen my family in a while. I mean, I live at home with my mom, so I see her. Um, the rest of my family, I mean, my cousins all live in Cali or in New York. So I haven't had I usually go to California every single year. Um, I haven't gone since before the pandemic started. I haven't gone. And then the ones in New York, um, one of them, her mom has a lot of health issues, so I'm scared of going to visit them. And that, and because I work here, I mean, I work at a mall. I see a lot of people every day. It's kind of scary. So I don't want to bring that near them. And then my other cousins, I don't want to I guess that's more what it is. I don't want to, like, God forbid, bring anything to them and then, like, be the reason something happens.
Yeah, so you mentioned you live at home with your mom and you've tried to avoid seeing any other family. Um, are there any other people you interact with, and how do you decide who falls into that category?
I hang out with my boyfriend, and he literally has to go through, like, the same exact, like, if I know he was hanging out with one of his friends, I will not see him for a month. I will not hang out with him. I Who else? I hang out with one of my friends because I know he stays home all the time. He kind of has the same fears as me. Um, I guess that's more what it is. I only hang out with people that I know, like, I don't want to say like extreme precautions, but take the necessary precautions to try and not get sick. Like, I don't feel comfortable personally hanging out with people that I know, like, are at the club now that it's opened up, or like are hanging out with like a ton of group of friends every other day. I don't know. I just feel like there's too many germs going around and too many people. You don't know what's out there. Yeah. I only hang out with people that I know, like, aren't going out and about.
Yeah, so are your precautions related to any health concerns for yourself or a family member, or is it just to be safe?
Um, I mean, I have asthma, so that's kind of scary. Um, my mom is healthy. Um, I do occasionally see, like, my boyfriend's family, and they also have a lot of health issues. So I think it's more. I don't want to say I think it's more for more other people, but I think it's kind of like a general thing. I'm just scared of ever getting corona.
Okay, and now we're going to move on to the work-related portion. So can you describe what your work experience was like before COVID-19? So where did you work and for whom? And for how long have you been working there?
So I have been working with my current company for about a year and a half. Before corona, we were very encouraged to interact with the customers, help them out. Like I mentioned, it's a candy store. So our, like, favorite thing to do with people was giving out free samples and, like, getting people to try all the different candy, because we have, like, the self-serve candy. Um, what else did we used to do? Oh, we used to love, like, giving plushies out to little kids. Um, I mean, it was more for the sales, but little kids loved it. Um, and I think the big one is just the sampling. We used to always sample candy, either, like, us because we wanted to know what the candy tasted like, and, like, so we would know how to talk to people about it, or with customers when they were curious about what it was, we would always be willing to give them free samples.
So what does a typical work day look like for you now? How do you prepare for work and what is your routine?
So at work, we're now required to do a health check before we could even clock in. And then as soon as we get there, we have to, wash our hands because we're working not directly with food, but around food. Um, we wear gloves almost all the times. We have multiple floors. Um, and I'm lucky enough that, I'm on the management team, so we have our own separate office. But as for like the associates, they have to, like, let's say we can't schedule multiple breaks at once. That way they could like keep their distance while they're eating. Um, we don't do samples anymore at all. Um, we have gotten to uh we've got like really strict with the masks, to the point where like we have to call security if people don't have a mask. um it kind of took, I don't want to say it took the fun out of it, but it kind of took like most of the human experience, like interaction. Like we used to be able to like always be with other people, like hanging out with all our customers, and now it's kind of like we're more there to like dictate what people could do, make sure they have gloves on if they're gonna grab candy, make sure they keep their masks on. Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the fun of your job has disappeared. Have you been able to find a moment of happiness at work during the pandemic? And if so, how have those moments changed?
I think one of the, I don't want to say the few things, but kind of one of the small things that didn't really change but did during the pandemic was, um we used to always like, okay, so we have like the same exact playlist playing every single day for like the year and a half that I've worked there. So we kind of know the songs by heart now, so we know word for word. And if it's like the cha-cha slide, we used to always go in the middle and start dancing them. But like, it was always like close range, and like we would like be joking around with each other while we were doing it. I think that's one of the fun things that didn't leave, that at least like we could still dance from a distance from each other. It changed a little bit, but we still have the dancing.
And how has COVID-19 affected your work in general? Was there a point that you lost your job? And if so, how did you go about finding new forms of employment?
Okay, so when the pandemic started, my job closed partially. So like we were closed to the public, but the stay-at-home order hadn't been ordered in New Jersey yet. So I was still able to go to work for about a week between when all, I guess, I don't really know because I had just gotten back into the country. um, but basically like I went to work, but we weren't open to the public. We were just like cleaning, deep cleaning. Um, we had company university, which was like we were like retraining everybody um at the beginning of the pandemic. And then when the stay at home order was put in place, they paid us for a week as if we had worked. Um, and then after that week, they sent us all notices that we were being furloughed. So we all got put on unemployment.
So what did you do during that period of unemployment? Did you look for other means to work?
Okay, so just on the working sense, I decided to start like a whole company because I did not know what to do with my time. And also I still had bills to pay. So I started like a customs business, and I was doing pretty good. And then people started running out of money because nobody's unemployment was coming out. So after that, I was kind of just free floating until I got called back to work.
So since you've been back at work, has your pay changed in any way? Have they given you fewer or more hours? Have they cut more people that were working?
Um, my wage stayed the same, and I think we've had people come. I don't. I don't think it was like a dramatic uh change in the amount of people we've had, but I know we did lose a lot of people because a lot of people didn't want to come back after the pandemic just because like I said, we're located in a mall, and also it's like, I mean, at least for our company, it's the highest volume company, I mean store. Uh so we see a lot of people like on any given day. And a lot of people were scared of that, but they gave people the chance to like I'm saying a lot. I don't know how to word it, but a lot of people were able to come back if the sole reason was that they were scared because of the pandemic. But a lot of people chose not to come back after. I guess they gave them like a certain time frame to decide if they wanted to come back or not, and a lot of people at the end decided not to come back. But they also did a lot of hiring after that. The only thing that did happen because of the pandemic was my company filed for bankruptcy, but we're on track now to not be bankrupt anymore. But because of the bankruptcy, everybody's promotions were put on pause, and nobody's been promoted since last year, which is an issue.
And what has been the easiest and the most difficult part of adjusting to the changes that COVID-19 brought with respect to your job?
The anti-maskers. We get a lot of those. A lot of people, I guess, is getting a little bit worse now just because, I mean, a lot of things are being lifted, a lot of restrictions, and a lot of people are getting vaccinated. So a lot of people come. I mean, I was talking to my mom about this earlier. We had a customer about 2-3 weeks ago come in and make a whole scene that she didn't have to. I mean, in New Jersey, it's still mandatory to wear a mask if you're in public. And she made like a whole scene that she didn't have to wear a mask because she has one dose of a vaccine, and it was just chaos. So we had to call security, and I think that's probably, we get a lot of that. A lot of people that don't want to wear masks or like improperly wear them, they do the this or the this. The this. We get a lot of that.
How does your company respond to employees that are sick or who may have contracted the virus or who are showing symptoms?
So my company will place you, New Jersey gives you 40 hours of paid sick time. So if you do get, whoa, lost my train of thought. If you do get sick, they will allow you to use your paid sick time or your paid time off if you're eligible for it. Um, that's the first thing. They also, if you've been in contact with anybody, so like let's say 7 people were working one shift with manager A, and manager A tests positive, then all those 7 people are going on quarantine. um they're pretty good about that. Everybody that's worked with manager A from whenever they started experiencing symptoms or whenever they think they probably were, whatever the situation is, they'll everybody will have to be quarantined, even if we're down to 3 staff members. What else do they do? Oh, our mall does this. I guess it's not really my company, but our mall, I mean, our company encourages to go get it, but our mall does free testing on site. So every Tuesday and every Saturday, they, and I mean, there's always appointments. That's the good part. You literally just walk upstairs and you could get tested every day of the not every day, twice a week if you wanted to. And I know at least my with us, how they do it is if you're working on Tuesday at 12 p.m. and you want to schedule an appointment to go get tested, like we'll give you that time frame to go and get tested, even if you're on shift. Just so, I mean, some people don't have time to come from their house, or if you're working, they don't want to make it inconvenient. So you could just go while you're on shift.
Yeah, and you mentioned that your job has a protocol for if someone is experiencing symptoms, that everyone goes on quarantine. Is that something that you have experienced at your job or has happened? And if so, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So we've had a couple instances with it, but I think our major instance was when one of our managers tested positive, and he had been asymptomatic for, I guess, a while. And then he got really sick out of nowhere. Like, he was on shift and he just did not feel good, had to go home. Oh, I forgot to mention. So normally, like I said, we have the health questionnaire. So if you even check one mark that, like, I think one of them is like a headache. If you have a headache, you can't come in. So our system will automatically, if you put that you have a headache, our system will automatically deny you entry into the building. So I mean, it's free to walk in, but on our end, we'll receive a message that says employee B is not allowed to come in. Please contact them. Like, you would have to go and get tested if you answer even one question, even if it's something like a headache. You would have to go and get tested. But we, like I was talking about with the manager, he wasn't experiencing some symptoms. Out of nowhere, he just did not feel good, like pale. I wasn't there when it happened, so I was one of the few ones that didn't have to go on quarantine. But I mean, we have like, I want to say like 50 employees, not counting managers, and everybody that worked with him for like 3 days prior to him, to that day that he didn't feel good, had to go on quarantine. So we were down like maybe like to 12 staff members. It was really bad. But yeah, they're really strict with that. Like, you will be on quarantine even if there's no staff left.
Yeah. And you mentioned that your mall has the ability to provide testing to employees that work there. Has there been any other changes in terms of how your access to healthcare or your ability to look for healthcare, whether that be testing, vaccines, or just general checkups?
Ooh, I'm a little confused. Do you mean like personally or like
Yeah,
at a...
personally.
Oh, okay. Um, I'm so okay. So like I said, I get sick a lot because, like, there's underlying issues there, but like, I get sick a lot and I have refused to go to the doctor. Like, I will literally like not go to the doctor. I mean, I carry an EpiPen with me. My EpiPen was expired forever, and I did not go to the doctor because I do not. They don't allow COVID patients, but I think on a personal level, I don't feel comfortable going around people, even though I know chances are they probably do not have COVID, because they're really strict on my doctor's office too. They make you fill out like 30 forms before you could even go in, but there's still that slight possibility, and I don't want to take it. So yeah, I guess I don't want to say my trust in the doctor's office with other people has just, it's bad.
Have you tried to look for a vaccine? And if so, are there any concerns about availability or ability to register for one?
I I don't want to say fortunate. That's gonna sound so bad, but I'm fortunate enough. Luck, not luck. It's gonna sound really bad when this whole all comes out, but because I have like underlying health issues, um, I've been eligible for a vaccine for like a while now. When they started vaccinating like the people with pre-existing conditions, I was eligible, at least here in Jersey. I was eligible. And to date, that now everybody's eligible for a vaccine, I have not gotten vaccinated. I I keep going back and forth on it just because, you know, there's a lot of fear mongering on things, and I don't want to say like, oh, they came out with a vaccine too soon, because I mean I trust science. Um, but I also don't trust that they don't know any long-term effects on it. And I think that's what's kind of holding me back. Like I made my schedule. That's the thing. I they were doing like this mass thing, and one of my friends gave me a Twitter page of when they drop like vaccine schedules, like when you could sign up for vaccines. So I did that. And I was able to get not an appointment, but sign up onto the waiting list. And I signed myself up, I signed my boyfriend up, I signed my mom up, I signed everybody up. And then like at the last minute, I was like, actually, like, I still don't know the long-term effects. I don't know if I want to go through with it. And I just kind of got in my head about it. And like I put that fear back into myself. So I didn't go through with it. And I always said if I was going to get a vaccine, I would either get Pfizer or Moderna, and never Johnson and Johnson, because after that whole talcum powder thing, I don't trust them. And now that new report came out about Johnson and Johnson, and now I'm just even more scared about it. So yeah, I'm just going to wait it out a little longer and see what happens. And then I'll eventually get vaccinated, because, you know, I don't even know what's in my other vaccines. So I can't say like, oh, that's why I don't trust. Okay, side note. That's why I don't trust like most of the fear mongering, just because like, yeah, it's easy to say, oh, it has this, and like it'll be true. Yeah, okay, that's what's in the vaccine. Ask me what's in the flu vaccine. I don't know. Ask me what's in a Pop-Tart. I don't know. So like, that was never an issue with me. It's more the whole long-term effects of it. I want to see what happens. Is this going to be one of those commercials where 20 years from now they're like, did you take the COVID-19 vaccine from whatever company 20 years ago? You are now eligible. Like, I don't want that to, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm going to wait.
Okay, and we're going to shift gears a little bit to talk about how COVID has impacted your education. So has COVID-19 changed the way you or your community receive education?
My school shut down. So like I said, I was in Europe. I came back from Europe. We were told we were gonna do, I literally came back from Europe, and then that Monday I went to school, and I was on a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule. That Monday I went to school. Tuesday they were saying that we were probably gonna go to half virtual, half no, I lied. They said we were gonna go to virtual, no, yeah, half virtual, half in person. And then Wednesday when I went back to campus, they were like, everybody leave. Campus is closed. People that are residents, you have however long to move out. If you need to stay, let us know. But we're closing campus for 2 weeks. That was the original thing. 2 weeks. And then at the end of the first week, they were like, yeah, never mind. Everybody has to go home. Like, we're gonna stay online for the rest of the semester. We'll be back next semester. And then at the start of the second semester, like a couple weeks before the start of the second semester, they said, hi, we're doing half and half. Unless you have a pre-existing condition. And I remember this was one of the few times I went to the doctor. I've been to the doctor exactly twice. I went to the doctor and I was like, oh, because they were like, oh, unless you have a pre-existing condition, but you need a doctor's proof that you have a pre-existing condition. And then I called my doctor and I was like, hey, can you like write something for me? He couldn't. he had to see me in person. And then my school emailed me and they were like, hi, you might be eligible, but you need to fill this form out. No, your doctor needs to fill this form out. Attach this with the doctor's letter. So I went to the doctor's. He filled it out. He said, "Hey, she has ta 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 ta. Um, she can't go on campus." Like 2 days later, after they made me go to the doctor, they emailed us saying, "Yeah, never mind. Like everybody complains about having to come back on campus. We hear you. We're with you. You won't have to come back on campus." Yeah, so I graduated online. That was pretty fun. My school gave me a call and told me, "Congrats, you graduated," and then hung up on me. And yeah, that was pretty much it.
So were there any challenges that you faced as you transitioned to online learning? And if so, were there any resources or tools you needed to do well in school, but were no longer accessible?
I am fortunate enough that my resources were still available to me. The only thing was that I had a lot of professors that are not very technologically savvy. So, I mean, I had one professor, bless his heart, he was writing on like, I think he was still on campus. I'm not 100% sure where he was, but he was like writing on the thing and then would like bring his camera up and be like, "Do you see it?" And half the time his screen would freeze. It was so sad. I had another one that our classes were mainly on Zoom. So he would go on Zoom and he didn't know how to turn the audio on. So I had his phone number because he was also my well, he was one of my advisors. So I had his cell phone number and I would have to call him and be like, "Hi, professor, actually your audio isn't working." And then sometimes he would know how to fix it. Sometimes he would just tell me, "Hold the phone up so that class could hear." Um, what else happened? I had one professor that went missing. that was that was probably the worst part of it. I lied. That was probably the worst part of it. The professor that went missing, because she posted all the work. I mean, I'm laughing, but it was really upsetting. She posted all the work at the beginning of the semester, and it was the last class I needed for my major. So I was stressing this class, and she posted all her work at prior to the semester starting. She posted it. And she was like, "Hi guys, I'm always available through email if you guys need me. Yada yada yada. Here's my phone number, here's my contact information. Please reach out to me. Semester starts, whatever, whatever, whatever." That is the last time I heard from her. So I did not understand for the life of me this class. And I was lucky enough that there was this one kid in that class that I had in one of my previous classes. Me and him, literally, I feel like we taught each other because we would email her. To say once a week, I feel like isn't is like an understatement, because we would literally email her for everything. I did not understand this class and she just was not available. She said reach out to me, but she never answered. And then at the end of the semester, we realized that the whole pandemic was too much for her and online teaching was too much for her, and she had actually quit and we didn't have a teacher, and that's why nobody was answering. But we all passed.
Um, and how, if at all, have schools in your community helped the community during COVID-19? Have there been any food distributions? And to your knowledge, have they provided students with technology accommodations?
Okay, so this is one of the things I love about my town. So I actually live like right next to one of the local schools, and um it's one of the main distribution centers for my town. We have a couple, so it's a pretty big town, but it's one of the main ones. So I know, I mean, I'm an only child, so I didn't really see what like the elementary kids. I only heard about it from like my friends um and their siblings, what they would tell me. So I know that the town sent out letters at the beginning of the pandemic. They sent out letters saying if students needed access to technology for the Zoom classes, that they would give them a laptop. Or yeah, I think it was a laptop. Then what else did they do? Every Tuesday to date, they still give out like little baggies, and it's full of food for like the whole week. So my town gives you breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the schools, and it's all free like during the school year if you were in the actual building. Um so they do that. The only thing is like the parents have to go and pick it up, or like somebody has to go and pick it up, and then you put like your school ID and they'll give you the breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a whole week. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also, I know they teamed up with, I think it was Verizon, but one of the major like networks, and they sent out letters to every household. I actually did get this one. They sent out letters to every household, and they were like, "Hi guys, we understand like the pandemic's bad." That was a terrible way to say it, but um, just in case like you don't have access to internet, here's like how you could go through it. This is the number you call. Um, if you need additional help, like as always, reach out to the mayor's office, yada yada yada. And then I know in one instance, so like unemployment was the worst. And one of my friends used to work with me. So we were both having like the worst time filling out our unemployment. We literally did it through FaceTime. And for some reason, mine went through, his didn't. So after like however many months, I was getting money, he wasn't. So he reached out to our mayor and was like, "Hey, I don't know what I did wrong. I did it with one of my friends. She got her money. I didn't. Um, could you like look into this?" I tried reaching out to they gave him a phone number sometime before, and he tried calling them, and it was like the unemployment people. He's like, "I tried reaching out to them. It didn't work. It didn't go through. Uh, could you help me? Like, I have stuff to pay. I have 3 siblings. My parents are currently unemployed. I need help." And he sent him a whole basket and a ton of gift cards and like whatever else, thing of groceries for him, his siblings, his parents, and there's like 7 of them in that household. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think my town's done a pretty good job. Oh, I forgot. They also send us free masks. I think it's been like twice or 3 times already. He sent us like a thing of masks and also letters telling us to wear masks. That's been pretty cool.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the city has done a pretty good job of handling the pandemic. How do you feel about the way the state of New Jersey or Hudson County has been handling? Do you think they've also been doing a good job, or are there things they could have been doing better?
I think for the most part, New Jersey's been doing a pretty good job. I think Hudson County's been doing a pretty good job. I think they were a lot stricter in the sense of enforcing at the beginning of the pandemic compared to now. But also, I don't know how I feel about them enforcing it, but I get it, but also, if that makes sense. There's a lot around that. But I know at the beginning they were yelling out the police cars and they were like, "You need to have a mask on" if somebody wasn't wearing a mask. And they were like carrying masks around and literally handing it out to people that didn't have masks. I think that's also why he sent us masks. That way people stop using that as an excuse. But I think overall it's been a pretty good job.
Okay, we're wrapping up the interview, so I have 2 more questions for you. So as you may know, there's been a lot of social movements and protests going on for the past year. How, if at all, have the current social movements in conjunction with COVID-19 impacted your life?
To be honest, I don't like looking at like news anymore. I feel like it's so much and there's always something going on. Like, I feel like COVID kind of really made me scared of the world in a sense, in the sense that like I'm extra alert about my surroundings and not in like someone's gonna come up behind me, more in the sense like I'm just scared of being around people. And I feel like I've become very like, and then I feel like everything I see about COVID is just people dying and there being no hospital beds and no people dying left and right. And then I see everything with protests, and it's also the same thing, people dying but for different reasons, and people being shot with rubber bullets that I mean, even like my TV shows have gotten like that. Like Grey's Anatomy, I can't watch it anymore without crying in an episode, and not because the episode's sad, but because it's like it's showing you everything going on in the world, and it's just like it's a lot. I feel like it's a lot to handle, and like I feel like mentally I can't grasp at that anymore, just because I feel like the world is just like, you know, and I feel like everything just like that's the best way I could explain it.
So has COVID-19 and the current social movements impacted your mental health or provided challenges? And if so, what do you do to try to mitigate that and work through them?
I think it definitely has taken a toll on my mental health. Like I said, I just feel like I get overwhelmed more. I guess that's what it is. I get overwhelmed more to the point where like I shut down. So like what I was saying with like I don't even want to see TV anymore. I literally survive off of like Impractical Jokers old episodes, which is like a comedy show. Literally anything that doesn't feel real, if that makes sense. Like anything that just kind of feels out there is what I'm more attracted to now. And if I see like I know what's going on in the world. I know that in terms of protests, there have been a big trial just is like coming to an end, and more people are being shot by cops. But mentally, I can't. Normally, I would be like, I need to see it and like be more involved. I'd be more involved in anything going on, but I feel like I'm not in the place right now to take more on, because then I feel like I would reach my breaking point. And I feel like if it wasn't for like comedy shows and like my garden and my dog, I would have probably lost it during this pandemic. I mean, I built a whole garden and I've had this backyard forever. That's one of the things I did during quarantine. I built a whole garden because there was nothing to do. And like being inside, I mean, my house isn't a big house, but I'm comfortable here. I've always been comfortable here, and I felt like I was going crazy. Like I felt like my wall, yellow wallpaper where she's like scratching. That's how I felt.
Okay, and just to wrap up the interview, is there anything else you would like to share with me about your experiences with COVID-19 that I have not asked about?
I didn't get COVID so far. We're on a winning streak. No, I think you're good.
Okay, thank you so much for participating. And if there's any information that the University of Texas at Austin would like to have, they will be contacting you whenever that comes up.